My name is James White. As he said, I'm from International Studies and Programs. And as some of you will probably already know, I'm quite passionate about inclusivity on the web. Some would say fanatic, some would say deranged. You know, take your pick. But I'm very passionate about inclusivity on the web. We're going to talk today about some basic issues. And my emphasis is going to be it's the people that we want to reach that count. Here is an actual screenshot of a 5.x browser on YouTube. This is what they see. No videos, no images even. Let's go to the video. They can click the video links, but here's what they get to. A message that says, hello, you either have JavaScript turned off or an old version of Flash. Well, in this particular case, neither of those is true. The only thing that's not correct here is an older version of the browser, a 5.x version. And yes, all this space that I've taken up with my little balloons is white space. That's what the user sees with the 5.x browser. This is what you expect to see with YouTube. But you have some minor privileges too. Here we have a Internet Explorer 6.0, and this is what they get. A message that says, we will be phasing out, this is a YouTube message, we will be phasing out support for your browser soon. Please upgrade. Unfortunately, my belief, and this is for 23+% of the world, that's what they see, of users that try and go to YouTube. That's what they see. I'd wager that probably half of those just don't have the rights to make those changes. They're going to a library computer. They're going to a community computer of some kind. They have a computer that has a fairly low bandwidth. They don't have administrative rights on it. Whatever reasons, they probably can't make that upgrade themselves. This is a statistics thing from our own ISP website for January 1st to 14th of this year. And it shows that at that time I did this, Internet Explorer 6 was still our leading browser. Accessing our website. Now that's skewed a bit because Firefox is in here, even though its total would be lower, it's spread out all over the place because they have, version numbers out the wazoo. But what I really want you to see from this slide is look at the people counts. Internet Explorer 5.0, 757. That's in a 14-day time period, accessing ISP. You can look at some of the other numbers. Internet Explorer 3.01, and you can go wandering through looking at any of the others at your leisure. So again, you want to see the people. In this case, I've shown you what the operating systems are that the people that are accessing our site are using. Windows 98 is still in there with 572 in that 14-day time period, even though, of course, the Windows XP is way up there. Here's what happens and what goes wrong when people are usually showing you statistics about the web, and particular browsers. This is a chart that shows it by percentages. This is another one that shows exactly the same data by percentages. The numbers all come from the W3 schools. But there is a problem with using percentages, and I'll get to that in 2 seconds. And the statistics on the W3 schools is tech user biased. And we'll talk about that in a second too. This is the same numbers, the top chart, the conventional view, but by counts. And you can see that there are 1.8 billion users as of the end of 2009 on the internet. And what you see when you're doing this by numbers is even with this, because of the very huge size of the 1.8 billion, a few little millions of older browsers get lost in the count. If we switch that to a log view so that the bottom end stays fairly high, and we start looking over here at the people reality, we see some numbers that are a little different, like 322 million are still over here that didn't quite vanish, but if we look at the 35, the 3 million, the 25 million, all those vanished in that top chart or in those percent charts because the percents are so small, but it's still millions of people. And in particular, that's a very important part of the ISP audience. Another thing you'll notice from this chart is that these peaks start here very high and drop off very quickly. That's a tech bias. If you look over on the right side, you'll see that particularly on this top one, it's probably easier to see where the Internet Explorer 6 is still larger in ISPs hits than it is in the tech, and that's because the tech people switch their technology a lot faster than ISP users. This just shows you where I got the 72 million essentially in my, and you can finagle the numbers. You can just say, well, I want to pick these as, you know, current and these as not current. Take your pick on how you want to adjust those. But you need more than a browser for video. You need a player. And the players, if we look at what the players are, these are 2005 dates and 2009 dates. What they supported, MPEG-1 was the main supported one, and WMV, which is Microsoft's proprietary. Those are still the big ones being supported in 2009. If we look a little deeper into it, we see that real video is both a format and a player, but you'll see in a minute that, well, if you look at real video, you can see it in this column. It's not very well supported. WMV is widely supported. MPG-1 is widely supported. And you'll see a couple things else in here. This VP6 is something that Flash supports and something that most modern versions of players will play, but it's a proprietary to write format at the moment. I'm not sure if Google's going to change that or not, but because Google bought the company that held the patent that prevents people from writing to that format, although they have opened it up for other people to read the VP6 format. Google, or rather Flash, has also indicated they will probably be moving to, or at least supporting the H.2.64, which is a MPEG-4 standard in the future. Looking just at this one, you can see that Microsoft, in fact, is very widely supported, and that you know, these guys, the real video, etc., are not very well supported. A closer look at the top 3 video players shows us again. This is top 2 are 2005. That yes, MPEG-1 is well supported. Others are not so well supported. MPEG-1 still wins hands down as far as across the board support. It gives you guaranteed wide access to old and new players. And what you see with the more modern stuff is that coverage is as yet incomplete, and it'll be incomplete for quite some time. The good news here that this slide shows is that if we go beyond just MPEG and start talking about streaming and metadata and those kind of things, that there is, in fact, in the modern players, support for a couple of different flavors of protocols for streaming, and there's also support for meta DAGs and subtitles and that kind of thing. But it's a couple of isolated sections that people are supporting. The bad news is that old players, of course, won't recognize those, won't even touch the files. More bad news is that streaming media requires a streaming server. It's not just something you do in your website and put a file on the server. You've got to have something that will serve that streaming media. Better news is that even old MPEG players will buffer and instantly, quote unquote, play after they've got enough buffer filled. Go ahead and play the video as it downloads. They don't have to wait until you've done a complete download before they can play a video.